Hello, my name is Nigel Kelly. I'm the officer in charge here of the Athy unit of the Order of Malta Ambulance Corps. I'm a paramedic within the Ambulance Corps here in Athy, and I have been volunteering since I was the age of 12 years of age. The Order of Malta here in Athy was founded in the 1950s by the late Eamon Macaulay, Brendan Dorn, Dr. Joe O'Neill and Michael Ryan, who's still alive today. The Order of Malta was established in order to provide first aid cover at local church events, the local cinema here in Athy, and soccer and GA matches. Today in the Order of Malta we have 20 volunteers who are active members here in Athy. Within the community we volunteer at local events, and an ambulance and crew would be provided free of charge. The likes of the triathlon here every summer. We have a county show in June of every year. We also provide cover for the Athy Town promoters for their events throughout the year. St. Patrick's Day parade, and also at Christmas for the big switch. We cover Punchestown Ace and the Curra race courses. When the Order of Malta was first established in the 50s, they also provided meals on wheels for the most vulnerable people who relied on meals being delivered to their houses. Volunteering is very important within the community because it gives you a great achievement. And like myself, I used the Order of Malta to get a career as a paramedic. We have an underage unit here at the cadets from the age of 10 to 16. And we have about 30 cadets here, and they would meet on a weekly basis before the pandemic. The cadets would also come on duty with the adults and learn life-saving skills. So the benefits of volunteering, you gain confidence in trying things, you meet new people, you learn life-saving skills, you take on new challenges, you have fun, and you give back to the community, which is the most important thing.
Welcome on board Freedom on the Water. You're booked in for a 1-hour trip today, so we're going to turn around, we're going to go down the river, onto the canal, through the lock, turn around and come back. For those of you who haven't been on a boat before, a lock is basically an elevator for the boat, so we'll go in, we'll drop down to the level of the river. Same when we're coming back up, it'll lift us back up. Most popular seats are the seats at the front, that's where most people sit, but just be mindful that we're going through a natural environment, so there will be briars, brambles and bushes sticking out. We'll avoid them as much as we can, but the odd ones we can't. Our boat is owned and operated by Athy Enterprise Centre, so it's a community barge. So any money that's made goes to the upkeep of the boat and to fund other community development projects in the area, which is great. Obviously boats are incredibly expensive, so there's not a lot of profit made on it because we keep our prices low. The main object of the Athy Boat Tours boat was to introduce as many people as possible to the joys of the waterways. Well, this lock here is still exactly the same as it was back in the day, back when we were building this. It started construction in the 1750s. We still have to manually wind up and wind down the sluice gates. On the Shannon, obviously, these are mechanised now. Most of them are electronic. You swipe a card, press a button. It's nice for us to be able to show people how the locks worked back in the day when they were originally used by the old barges. We still do it the very same here. The activity on the waterways in Athy has increased by about 500% in the last five to 6 years. We see a lot more people tending to use the waterways, and hopefully with the proposal for the new Blue Way, if we can get that in, we'll see even more use of it. We'll have families who can use it. At the moment, some of the trackway is not suitable for people with disabilities or people with mobility issues, and hopefully the Blue Way will rectify that, and it'll introduce the waterways to a much wider spectrum of people. Boat usage is going up every year. Boats are becoming more popular. People wanting to buy barges is getting so popular they're becoming scarce now. So obviously there's a lot more people using the waterways and realising that it's a lovely way to see the country. Well, most people, even people from the town who've walked along the river all their life, can't believe the difference when you're in the river looking out. It's like you're in a different world. They're so used to walking this river every day. When they see it from the riverside out, it's like being in a different world. And they can't believe the diversity of wildlife we have along it, and obviously the history and the heritage. We work for 19.5 hours a week providing tours for general tourists, but because of our wheelchair access, we also provide tours for wheelchair users, people with mobility issues. So we get a lot of clients from hospitals, nursing homes, residential care facilities. Because the demand, especially from this cohort of people, was so high for the boat, under a CE scheme we work 19.5 hours a week. But with the demand so high, we had to operate for 7 days a week. So myself, the other skipper and the crew members work voluntarily to fulfil the needs of all of the people who require our trips. It's a fantastic opportunity for people in wheelchairs to get out on the water, which you wouldn't otherwise be able to do. We're the only wheelchair accessible boat in Leinster. So it's a great way for them to see the countryside, see the river, and ourselves, we love providing the service. It's a fantastic way to meet people and provide a service back into the community. With my involvement with Athy Urbac project, we were fortunate enough to visit our other partner cities and see how their projects worked and learn from those and apply those best practices back here and help us improve our services on Athy boat tours. It's a fantastic amenity for the town, and we hope that it continues to be so for many years to come.
My name is Sharon Malloy and I'm involved with Willow Community Counselling Services, and we're working with Urbac to try and integrate the communities. A lot of our clients would be in addiction, some in active addiction, some in recovery. And what we've seen is how, due to the self-stigmatisation of the person, that's one obstacle that prevents them, first and foremost, of integrating into society. And our hope is that by working with Urbac, we may come up with ways around that with community projects. Our approach in Willow is we work very much from a person-centred approach, which means we work with where the person is at in their own recovery, or be that in active addiction. So we meet the person where the person is at, and then we move forward hopefully with the goal of the client of being drug-free. We also engage with a number of other services to help with the person's, rebuilding the person's recovery capital. So the services we offer, obviously we do one-to-one counselling. We are also starting this evening, in fact, a group for the families, for concerned others of people in addiction. It's based on the community reinforcement and family training. It's going to help the family in their communication with the person in addiction. It's going to help highlight the family member that their needs need to be met too. So what we're looking at is to engage with people, say 3 months before they're due to leave prison. By engaging with the person whilst they're in prison, we establish the relationship, and we can also put things in place, like if they want to go to rehab or other things, we can support all of that, so that when they leave prison, we have an appointment in place, we have a working relationship already in place, which makes that continuum much easier to continue. The other issue is that women in addiction are one of the most highly stigmatised groups in society. The obvious barrier for women in addiction is if they talk about their addiction, their fear is that their children will be taken from them. the one thing which we're hoping to work with Urbact on, it is the integration of our service users into the community, and I think it is to try and get the community to understand the impact of drugs on the person, on the family, and I think if we can work together on that, I think it's very encouraging.
Hello everybody, my name is Brian Dooley and I'm president of the Athy Lions Club. I suppose to tell people exactly what Athy Lions Club is, it's a fundraising organisation. We try and fundraise for various different charities, community groups in the town of Athy. The Lions Club is very prevalent all over the country. We have in excess of 100 clubs, but in Athy we place particular emphasis on fundraising for various different partners. One of those partners would be the Vincent de Paul, where we would fundraise for both money to raise funds for them, and also we would do our annual food appeal at Christmas, where we would go to local supermarkets and look for donations of food to be made. That's just a very small part really of the activity we're involved in Athy. We've also been, we raise awareness around suicide awareness and diabetes prevention. They're two major programs that we run throughout the year. And we run them through our schools, through media campaigns. And again, what we try and do is we fundraise to put some kind of leaflets into people's doors, just information leaflets about suicide awareness and also about the prevention of diabetes in the community. Another thing we would do is Macaulay Court. There's 10 residential homes for the elderly. It's on the property of St Vincent's Hospital in Athy. So we are at this moment in time actively fundraising to have all of these residential suites filled with residents. There's 5 at the moment being used, and there's 5 that are empty. But they need some work done on the infrastructure, and some work's carried out to make them as comfortable as possible for the residents. We also carry out visitations to the hospital, where we would bring the 88 patients that are in Vincent Hospital some treats every few months, from chocolate biscuits to 7-Up drinks, just things to make them feel at home and as comfortable as possible, because they predominantly are older people that may not have family left around the area. We've been very fortunate, I think, with our partnership with St Vincent de Paul to be able to raise between 8,000 and 10,000 euros per annum through our food appeal. And then also when they find themselves in times of difficulty where funds may be running low, we will come in and we'll fundraise through concerts, auctions, cycle rallies, or we'll just set up an actual fundraising day in the square. We're getting ready for one at the moment, which is the Mount Everest, the virtual Mount Everest, where I myself, I'm going to basically climb Mount Everest in a wonderful square here, which is going to take me quite some time because I didn't realise it's about 29,000 feet. So it's going to take me probably about 20 hours of going up and down and outside stairs. But all of these things are to predominantly look after the community groups and those charity organisations that are very active in the town. We've also been involved with, during lockdown, the delivery of food to the elderly people in our community and to the most vulnerable, and also in the delivery of radiators, home heating for them at night time when during, especially in Athy, or in Ireland during the winter time, it has been very, very cold. So they're just some of the activities that we're involved in, and I'm very fortunate that I have a great team behind me. We have over 20 members in the town that are really, really active. Each and every person has a project to promote. And another very small project that we're going to start in the town will be the photography and painting project in some of the businesses that have closed down, so that we can put some pictures in some windows and bring them back to life.
So hello, my name is Laura Larkin and I am the librarian here in Athy Library in County Kildare. So Athy Library was originally constructed in the early 60s as a Dominican church. The inspiration for the design of the building came from a tour by the prior of Athy at the time, along with an architect. They toured post-war Europe and came back and designed this building, which is an example of brutalist architecture with a hyperbolic paraboloid roof. The most remarkable feature that everyone comments on in this space when they enter it is the stained glass windows. In our first year open, Athy Library has received almost 100,000 visitors through the door. In addition to this, in our first 9 months, because we launched in March of 2018, so within our first 9 months we issued over 60,000 items.
To me, the library is a great place. I do Irish Year on a Wednesday, and I come to the knitting group on a Thursday, and then I come looking for books in the meantime, let them be Irish or English.
Yes, I've previous experience with Biblioteca RFID technology in 2 other libraries, so I was familiar with the interface. It's a very intuitive piece of technology to use because it's designed for a customer having never used it before. So we got a lovely new model of the self-service kiosks here, but it was easy to learn how to use it, to train staff on how to use it, and then in turn have the staff train the public on how to use it. It was a very easy process. Really pivotal in freeing up staff time here in the library. We've been fortunate enough to have a steady statistic of over 3/4 of all processes in the library, of all interactions in the library being processed through our self-service technology. So this has been monumental in freeing up the staff here, because it means no longer are you just stationary at a desk just checking in and checking out items. You're free to facilitate groups, clubs, workshops, and to organise and facilitate events for the library. So it's been hugely helpful. So part of the install process here was the tech actually took pictures of, you put the book here or you put the item here. So we find that simple process of when you're returning something, you see the visual of where to put it. That really helps, definitely. It was a brand new library, so from day one we were showing patrons how to use this technology, and they were seeing the advantage in using the kiosks as opposed to queuing up at a desk. So patrons have really warmed to the technology here.
Again, you slide under and slide out and away with you. That's it. Brilliant. Absolutely. I love it. I remember the church here. Well, it's the library now, but I do remember it as the church. But it has retained so many of its lovely attributes. Like, I mean, when we come in here now, it's peaceful. We were delighted that the library have it. We're delighted because it retained a lot of the stained glass. It's beautiful when the sun is shining in here. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's lovely. This is the place to come if you want to be educated. We have all the different classes that are here. It's unbelievable.
Fantastic, yeah, no, throughout the whole process, from installing to aftercare and troubleshooting, Biblioteca have been really pleasurable to work with. There was a fantastic process with installing and training in staff on how to use this, which then enabled us to be able to train patrons on how to use the technology. The hardware is really reliable and really intuitive, as I've said. The software has been fantastic in freeing up my time because I collate statistical reports for my library. So it just means you can do it at the touch of a button. You don't have to go and press off door counters at the end of every day and reset anything. It's just so easy to use. And for patrons as well, it's been really good. Furthermore, the customer support service from Biblioteca has been really good. They're very prompt, they're very reliable, they're very responsive, so absolutely brilliant.
Hi, I'm Sean O'Mahony. I'm community guard here in South Kildare and based in Athy. So the last year has been, for everyone in this pandemic, has been tough. So we decided to set up a Facebook entertainment page based here in Athy called Entertain Us Athy COVID-19. It was set up, an idea between myself and a local man called Noel O'Mara. Set up basically at the start for musicians to put out pieces on Facebook in a group that could entertain people locally. We had at the time hoped to maybe get 200 or 300 people onto it. As we stand today, I was looking at it last night, 7,300 people on this group, and they're from all over the world. They would all have links to Athy. I know from doing the community dinners around here, the amount of older people who are cocooning are using it every day and every night. They're using it to, I suppose, escape reality and get some sort of entertainment from Facebook. So it's working very well. Also in it, Patricia Berry is an integral part of it and would do a lot of the admin, and a lot of people were contacting Patricia to do birthday wishes to people in the town here. We actually went down as far as Carlow and Laois as well, so we crossed borders. So we dropped by, maybe gave them some flowers and chocolates and sang happy birthday and maybe their favourite song, and the reactions to those, even to as last Friday we did one, and I think there's 2,000 hits on the video for a lady who was 90. So it's fantastic, really. People have really taken it on board, and as I say, it's not just Athy anymore, it's gone worldwide with it. My young boy is 12, Lowry, and wherever he got it, he loves to talk. Must have been off his mother, but he has been doing stories at 1 o'clock. At the start he was doing it 7 days a week. Now he's down to 5. He's just taking a couple of days off, but yeah, he's doing stories. So he picks a book and he reads it, and I know there's a couple of avid followers of his look forward to his videos every day, and it's brilliant for him as well. It's given him an outlet. I should say, for myself and for anyone who's doing videos on it, I know from speaking to them, it's good for your mental health as well, that you're volunteering, you're doing it. And I suppose to link in with Urbact, we're all volunteers on the page. There's nobody getting paid for anything, and it's great. It gives you that sense of being involved in the community as well. Since we started, someone came up with the idea of using the page to fundraise for different charities. I would say people have been so generous on the charities fund. A lot of people who couldn't get out to volunteer, they wanted to get out to volunteer, but we just didn't have enough work for them in the pandemic. Were mad to give money to something just so that they were contributing to the community. And I would say that has been fantastic.
The museum in Athy is very important to the town. It was created back in the 1980s under volunteer circumstances, where local involved people came up together with the idea of the heritage company that started the museum. So over the years it has developed from a heritage center to a heritage center museum. There are displays in this museum that are from private collections. They're personal, they still belong to the people who have donated them to the museum, and they're in the museum's care, but it is a part of them, and it is a reflection very much of the different aspects of Athy. The main exhibition has been, and going forward shall be, Ernest Shackleton and Irish polar exploration, and polar exploration generally. Athy is very, very different from many other museums throughout the island of Ireland, in fact that it does have a polar aspect to it, and the aspect of Ernest Shackleton in specific. Ernest Shackleton was born several miles to the southeast of here in the area around Kilkee, where he lived until he was a young man and then moved on to Dublin. Ernest Shackleton's a unique character in the respect of, even though he was a member of what could be called the aristocracy of the period, he took a great many risks in his life. And as such, he exemplifies a great many of the aspects of leadership that we look forward to this day. So our museum displays are largely dedicated to him. As the museum moves forward into development, we will be exhibiting actually the cabin in which he passed away in, and an entire floor above us will be dedicated largely to not just him, but to polar exploration generally. Speaking of other exhibits we have, the car behind me is one of the earliest examples of its time. You can see just from the car itself that it is of something of historical significance. We also have an extended amount of objects that involved the First World War. The First World War and Athy have an interesting relationship to one another, as Athy had the largest level of volunteerism of any town of this size from Ireland in the First World War, and that there was a great many people who went on to do some very interesting things during that period of time, and that's reflected in our exhibits, in very specific exhibits. The Athy Heritage Company, as it was established in the early 1980s, was established on a volunteer basis with the support of local politicians and most likely all the way to the county council. It remains largely a volunteer organization. We have a full-time staff in here headed by Margaret Walsh, our manager, but most of what we do in the museum is volunteer. I think most of us see it as our civic responsibility to a certain extent to promote the place that we live in and that we're so fascinated by. And without the volunteers, I don't think this would function as well as it does, and it functions quite well.